Go ahead.
Okay, we're good.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. And just so everybody knows, I mean, we're trying to be a bit time sensitive here this morning. Andre has an appointment in Prince Edward Island that he wasn't aware of until just a day or so ago. So if we can keep it as on point as possible, that would be helpful. So approval of the agenda and order of business. Tina has a brief statement to make on South Shore Regional Library, but unless it's time sensitive, if we could avoid new business, it'd be good. Don't hear anything.
I'll move we approve the agenda as amended.
Seconded. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Public input, there is none. I think we all received one piece of correspondence, and I think that was essentially it. So we have the minutes of the previous meeting, canceled January the 27th. Any errors or omissions there?
Move we approve.
Second. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. 5.1, Committee of the Whole recommendations. Anyone any issues with those recommendations, or somebody prepared to move them?
So moved.
Seconded by Abdallah. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. We have 5.2, Building Code and Unsightly Premises, order to demolish. That was on the council agenda there the other week, and we took it off essentially because we had been contacted by the estate, who became more willing to cooperate essentially. So we took it off and tried to, and have been working with them. I don't know if Brandon wants to add very much, but as I understand it, they're still cooperating to pretty much, but we still want to issue an order just in case. We've just extended the time frame, and as long as they're making progress, then we'll bring it back to the table if we need to extend it beyond that. But we're hoping that we're now able to work with them, and this will do the trick. So if somebody wants to move those recommendations.
I will.
Tina? Seconded. A couple of them. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. Well, we're way too early for the public presentations, but we have 7.1, second and final notice, adoption of vaccination policy.
I don't know if you want a presentation on this, or if you,
No.
We did receive one piece of correspondence from one public input from Tammy Clark. And so as a resident of Chester Municipality, I do not support the P108 vaccination mandate. Many provinces in Canada and countries around the globe are lifting vaccine mandates due to the vaccination's inefficiencies in stopping spread or the contracting of the Omicron variant of COVID-19. As a provincial government employee who was mandated to be vaccinated, I fear the negative mental health impacts on those who are not able to freely choose. Thank you for taking the time to consider my email. So that was the only piece of correspondence we received on it. Yeah, so.
Sharon?
Just one little question. Under the policy, the section 5.13, it says that it may be revised in accordance with the directives from the province of Nova Scotia or Nova Scotia Health. Does that mean if the province lifts the mandate for proof of vaccination for workplaces, et cetera, will we do the same?
Probably. That's the intent.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Because that wouldn't make sense for us to have that mandate if the province is not.
No, we're just simply trying to follow other rules. Andre?
Yes, thank you. Actually, I was in favor of this. I think when we first started talking about it in late last year. I've been thinking about it a bit more recently because I'm hearing other jurisdictions are starting to lift these requirements, and I'm thinking about the timelines. If we were to implement this policy where employees would be required to get their vaccine and then they have to wait 59 days and then get another one by the time they become the 2 or 3, however many employees that we have that are unvaccinated, by the time they're able to comply with the policy, we're going to be in like May or so. And I'm kind of starting to wonder if we're actually a little too late bringing this policy forward, to be honest with you. It seems like, we may end up in a situation where we make a couple of outlier employees vaccinate, and then just in time to have all the requirements lifted. I have that niggle feeling that, probably we should have done this 6 months ago rather than now. And now it seems like maybe I guess I've been having some second thoughts on the whole thing. I feel like it might be the wrong move at this time.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I've been thinking about it a little bit myself, and I don't know that we should. I think we should defer it for at least a few weeks and see what the province does. But that's only my own opinion, because I'd like to see where the province is going. I mean, if in 3 weeks' time they lift it, then what do we do it for? Tina?
Yeah, not much discussion needed from me. I'm not in agreement with the direction it seems to be going, which I guess will if we don't have a mover and a seconder, we'll not even move forward for a vote. But we'll see. No, I'm not following your comments nor Councillor Vino's comments at all. No, yeah. And I'm not sure if it's fair to ask a question of you both right now. So your hesitation is around the fact that we were late. Is that your hesitation? It's not the fact of the vaccination policy. It's the fact that we were actually late out of the gate. Is that what I'm hearing?
I think when we, I can answer. I think when we first were discussing this, the prevailing science or direction from the authorities were that the greatest protection would be offered by having your workforce is fully vaccinated, and those that aren't vaccinated are posing a risk to the other employees. But it would appear that those that are in positions have the science and have access to it are changing their opinion on that, or they feel that they've got enough vaccinated in the population that they don't have to force those few outliers. That's what I'm feeling and seeing. And so, I feel like making those few people that are very, very opposed, that have resisted all this time to vaccinate just in time to have it lifted. I'm fully vaccinated. I've got 3 shots. So, I mean, I have no problem with vaccines at all. I just, does it make sense to make somebody who really feels that strongly do it just in time for every other jurisdiction to lift it? I think there could be the problems that it could create with staff morale, maybe I think the benefits may not outweigh the negatives at this point. That's all I'm thinking. But for me, it's not a hill to die on. It just, I've been thinking about it in the last week or so.
Yeah. My view is simple. It's just that there seems to be a movement towards lifting the vaccine mandate. So, I mean, I don't know what Nova Scotia will do in the next 2 or 3 weeks, but if they lift it in 3 weeks from now, then what do we bother to do it for, I guess? Yeah. Floyd?
I'm still hearing from the doctors that the way to get rid of this pandemic is vaccines for everyone. And I'm not as, I guess, convinced as you guys are that they're going to lift them. That you have to have the vaccine to that policy. I'm not convinced of that. And I'm prepared to move forward because of 513. We have the ability to remove that at any time we choose to, and delaying it further is just making it later and later and harder to do. So I'm prepared to move forward with it.
Okay, Derek, you had something?
Yeah, I just want to put a motion on the floor. Let's vote on it. I move that we adopt the policy.
Okay. Second,
Second. Second.
We can
All
have
those
further
in-
discussion on it, but
discussion, yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not hung up one way or the other, just that there seems to be a trend at the moment.
well, as Sharon pointed out, we can then follow the province.
Yeah, if they lift it, we'll lift it. Yeah.
If they lift it, yeah.
I'm good.
I'm good with that.
Okay,
Yeah.
all those in favor? Opposed?
Okay.
Motion's carried. Okay, we're still way too early for the public. 7.2, request for decision, boundary review, committee of the whole.
This one's me again. So last week in committee of the whole, we had a discussion regarding the boundary review, and council decided to wait until this week to have some more discussion, think about it a little bit more. What I did do was provided you, I changed the slides a little bit that I provided you last week. But what you will see in there are a couple of new slides that I added. One of them provides the voter count for 2021 and the difference for each district. So you can see that District 2 is changed by about 18% from 2016 to 2021, has a difference of about 226 voters. So on the next slide following that, you'll see a slide called voter parity, discussion voter parity. And on that slide, I have taken the 2016 numbers and the 2021 numbers, and I've compared those to the average number of voters in each district. And so that gives you your parity number. So you can see that based on our 2021 provincial election numbers, we're at 12.9% for District 2. So a little bit outside the plus or minus 10%. And for District 7, we're a little bit under. So but we're just past the 10% there. So just to give you an idea of what the parity numbers look like for this year. And then the only other slide that I added was a slide regarding municipalities, rural municipalities in the province, and who's using the mayor system and who's using the warden system. So all the regional municipalities, Queens, CBRM, Halifax, and West Hants are all using the mayor system. And the towns use the mayor system, but other than that, there's only 4 rural municipalities that are using the mayor system. So I just wanted to provide that for your information. And then if you do decide that you want to have a discussion around mayor and warden, I gave you 2 options on how we could change the scope of work for the consultant.
Yeah. And I've had the discussion with you, and that is if we decided to basically stay with what we have at the moment, that we could probably do that in-house.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. And I've had some discussions with some of the councillors, not all, unfortunately, but some have reached out to me and whatever, or else I've had a conversation with them. And it appears to me that the status quo is what they prefer, and they don't see any particular reason to change. And if we don't change, then we don't have to spend $40,000 and staff can fix it up. Derek?
I don't think we need a consultant to do this no matter what we do. I mean, it's, we simply have to make a decision of the 3 options.
Yeah.
Status quo. Do we want a mayor or warden? And if we want a mayor, it's a question of a mayor plus 6 councillors or a mayor plus 7 councillors.
Yeah.
And we're not going to get mayor plus 7 councillors through public utilities, I don't think. So I think if we go with mayor, it's going to be mayor plus 6. And then we have to decide, which riding disappears.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm just saying that based on, well, even my own view, I don't think anybody wants that significant a change. And if we're not going to do it, then we just need to say so. And it makes life simpler for staff to just go out and do the numbers and put the report together. So anyway, I'm willing to do whatever anybody else has to say. Sharon?
Well, I'll comment. I'm fine with the status quo. I haven't heard any overwhelming preference from constituents that they prefer to have a mayor over a warden, for example. I know we did reach out to the residents. It was 2016, and there wasn't any overwhelming indication that people wanted that form of leadership. I think it served us well. Our municipality is doing well. So I think we're a functional council. I hope so. I think so. So I would be happy to leave it as is and just try to fix what we need to do internally.
Well, we need,
Yeah, I agree with the status quo. I mean, I could argue it either way. I think anyone on council can argue it either way. There's arguments for pro and con on both sides, but I think our council works well. I've said it before, and I'm going to make a motion actually to leave it as status quo and direct staff to do the boundary review in-house and leave it at that.
you have a seconder for the motion?
I'll second it.
Recorded vote, please. Recorded
Yeah.
vote.
Sure. Discussion?
Yeah, I'll pipe up.
Well,
So first off, okay, that's a discussion on the motion, because I want to talk about the slide around the voter parity. So to
well, this
speak,
on the,
so the motion is in regards to maintaining the status quo of a warden and mayor, right?
Yeah.
Okay, the warden and mayor.
and provide staff, give staff direction to do the work in-house.
Okay, so to speak on the motion, very simply, I think we're doing a disservice to the residents of the municipality, to the voters of the municipality, who may not have been aware of the discussion last week and may not be aware of the discussion this week. So I believe strongly, I can't predict what the voters and what the community members and what the residents and what the community groups and what the businesses that pay taxes in the municipality are going to say. I can't predict that. Wish I could. I'd go out and buy a lotto ticket. But I think we're doing a disservice, quite simply, to not explore. To not explore. And around the point of spending $40,000, we need to save money every chance we get. And we do, I'm sure we do. But if we want to get down in the fine weeds of where we would spend $40,000, poof. Maybe, a number of us, attend a conference, maybe we make a purchase, again, poof, 40,000. I'm not in agreement for spending money willy-nilly, not at all. And every dollar matters, but I'm not going to get hung up on $40,000. I'm not. So my statement will stand in the public around the fact that I do believe we're doing a disservice to the residents of the municipality of Chester by not allowing them to pipe up, to have an opportunity to pipe in. That's it. Thanks.
Okay, Abdallah?
Yeah, I just like to say, I know just from my own opinion, I mean, no one's ever come to me and asked, but I mean, I know we don't have to ask them, but I can tell you as a taxpayer, as a regular citizen for how many years, most people in the municipality are interested in how high our taxes are and what are you giving me for my money? And, and sometimes, we do things and in retrospect that you wonder why people in the general population say like, why did you spend this money? Like, it's just another report. And I mean, like you say, I'll be like Andre, it's not a hill that I want to die on. I'm well in favor of just keeping the status quo. And, I mean, and the other part of it is that I don't like is that once you make that decision, you can't go back. Well, what's that? I don't understand that. That to me doesn't make any sense. So if you decide that and in 2 years you figure, oh shit, excuse me, sorry, we should have done something different. So sad, too bad. That's the reason, one of the main reasons why I wouldn't even think about switching, regardless of what the consultant said. So that's how I made my decision.
Derek, you had your hand up, I think.
Yeah, I don't think no matter what we do, we need to hire a consultant. But that's a discussion for another time once we get through this motion. I personally favor a mayor system, but I also understand that we've been well served with the warden system. And I think that, Mr. Warden, is a reflection on you more than on the system. You've treated it, I think, to some degree like a mayor's job and looked out for the whole municipality. And I think that necessarily will not always be the case. I know you're not getting any older, I am, but another 8 years, we don't look at this for another 8 years. You may be here for another 8 years, but I'm looking deeper down the road. I think the mayor system is a better system. I personally will be voting against the motion, but I do acknowledge that we have been served well by this system. I'm looking more to the future than present. And, I can argue, as in many things, I can argue either way on it. But personally, my heart tells me a mayor system, in long term is a better system for the residents. I would vote in favor of that system, recognizing that likely is not going to be the way this council votes, and I totally respect and understand that.
Okay, any further discussion? Andre?
I'll just have a brief comment. I kind of agree with what Derek just said. Actually, you said it very well. Where a mayoral system, sort of you're elected by the entire municipality, the entire electorate. The leadership tends to, by its very nature, wish to carry forward the ideas and the mandate and the sort of the vision of the municipality as a whole. And I agree with Derek that I think that in your tenure, Alan, you sort of have that same sort of feeling, even though we have a ward system and you're elected not by people in my district or Derek's district, you're elected by the people in your district, but you don't treat it that way. And I can appreciate that. And I think that if I were in your position, I would want to treat it that way as well. But that doesn't mean everybody would. And so I think Derek's right to some degree that, we have a system that works well, and it has worked well because we've had the right people, luckily. But we could someday in the future, when we're gone, we could end up with the wrong people, or not the wrong people, but different people that may treat it differently, and they may choose to use the warden position just to chair the meeting and be the voice of council, and not think of it as holistically. And so that's, I think, the threat of the warden system, is that you don't have that broader vision. Again, is it something for me to lay down and die for? I don't think so. I mean, we're not in any dire straits, and no, there isn't a big outcry from residents, of course, because in general, unless it's something directly affecting them, they're not going to be thinking about the benefits of warden versus mayor. I mean, that's not realistic. So I don't think we're ever going to see like this outcry for a mayor from the public. And if that's what we're waiting for, then we'll never, ever change, clearly. I think that the only reason to change would be because we think that, it may offer some protections for future generations. That's all. So anyways, that's all I really have to say. I don't even know how I'm going to vote yet, but we'll see what comes up.
Any further discussion on Floyd?
Yeah, I just want to add, I said I could debate it either way, and I could. I guess, in my opinion, there's a gamble either way. I see it as a mayor sometimes may come in with their own personal agenda and make promises and not understand the way council functions. I see that as a threat. It's not always just the case, I would think. But I just asked myself this question. If I've been on council for 20 some years, and if a new council come in, the last person that I'd vote for to be warden would be a new person for the simple fact that they don't understand council and the functions. And I know you can learn, and the mayors do it all the time, but I just like the idea of whoever is going to be the warden. I would think 95 to 100% chance that that person is going to have been on council and have experience, know their staff, and know some of the councillors around the table. And I guess that gives me a little bit of comfort knowing that they probably going to work towards the goals of council and the thoughts of council in some cases, not all cases. But like I said, it's debatable in every case, but I do like the warden system. It's worked well for us. We've done well. So my vote will be to keep the warden system.
Any further discussion?
Can I just make one gratuitous comment?
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of wardens, and I just want to say, Floyd, I remember your dad being warden and what a wonderful job he did as warden. Even though I'll vote for the mayor system, I acknowledge that we have been well served by some very good wardens, present and in the past.
Okay. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Okay.
So I do have, again, if you remember, a comment around the presentation or the slide in particular on the voter parity, but the motion came too quick to have the other discussion. So I'll go back to that now. So Tara, just as a question for clarification on the voter parity, the 2021 voters, in terms of the total there and the percentage around the different districts, those numbers stand if the overall boundaries of the voting district or the municipality of Chester stand. Because if I go back a couple of years, we have had some discussion on how that may change. So those numbers, I'll just remind everybody, stand if the boundaries of the municipality are status quo.
Yeah.
And I won't go into any more than that, but those are the numbers if the boundaries stay the same, but we may actually be looking, who knows, at a change.
Well,
Correct.
after staff does their research and brings forward a report, then that's a discussion we'll have to have. But I think the intent is if it can remain the same, that it does.
Correct. And I guess not just the staff, but if there's interest from a member of the public somewhere outside of our current boundaries, which, we've chatted about that.
They're always free to express themselves. Yeah, Derek.
We can still have a boundary change internally if need be, if the numbers don't fit. Right?
If the numbers don't work out, yes, that's
correct.
Just a comment. I think the numbers in my district 2 is the high one. And I think with the twinning of the highway and the move that I see happening in this community, those numbers are increased. So I think that needs to be taken into consideration where it's already a little bit above, that they are going to continue to increase.
Yeah. Well, that's what the staff will come back with, a report based on that knowledge. Okay, what time of the day am I at? 9:14. And our first presentation is not till 9:30, or no, did we make contact for a 9:15?
He hasn't responded to my email yet.
Oh, he hasn't responded. Well, then we can't deal with that. Okay, 8.1, and this may be redundant at the moment because it's changed. An email, Councillor Vino, that you got concerning Nova Scotia Power, and they've kind of changed their mind.
Yeah, well, I've asked to bring this to council, and then there is some movement by the province. Although I would say this only thing is that we actually haven't seen what the province is going to do. They just indicated they're going to do something. So this council may wish to reach out to NSFM and ask that they advocate on behalf of municipalities and residents that have invested in renewable energy, and that maybe on our behalf, they lobby the provincial government to make good on their promise to make sure that these tariffs don't occur. That's the only comment I would have. It is good that the province seems to be willing to intervene, but again, we haven't seen what they're going to do yet. They've just made promises so far.
Okay, well, we could easily draft a letter to an SFM and to the province, copy to the province. Yeah, Sharon?
Yeah, because I think actually what the province have done, they've just kind of extended it out for a year to try to come up with a solution. So they actually, haven't negotiated the terms yet. So it's a good idea, I think, to move this forward.
Yeah, I think the province didn't move it out. I think NSP moved it out because they got pushed back from the province because they had applied for this through the URB, and when the premier got wind of it, they sort of hauled their horns in. So right at this point, they got to. Yeah, it was. I don't think the premier was aware of it until someone brought it to his attention of what they were trying to slip under the rug, I guess. And but anyway, yeah, I agree. Anyway, I won't say any more about Nova Scotia Power. I have my own opinion. But.
Okay, so we'll draft a letter to NSFM and copy to the province. Okay, where am I? 9.1, Community Development Recreation Private Road Name, Rhine Lane. Sylvia's not with us, is she? Not that we.
Yeah, I don't think she is. I thought Chad is on though, but
Is it?
It's here. Nobody is there.
Sorry, I am here. I was just muted. I'm so sorry. I
Where-
was just
where's
saying.
that? Oh,
I said I was muted, I think. There's no issues with the new road name. It's unique to the province. None of the councillors or the local fire department have any issues with it, and there's no like sounding names nearby.
Okay,
Motion to approve.
second
Second.
discussion. All those in favor? Opposed, motion's carried. Thanks,
See you,
Sylvia.
Andre.
It's good to hear from you. Haven't seen you in quite some time.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks.
Andre's in a hurry. We got to move along.
Well, I mean,
He got his dancing shoes.
things are fairly straightforward for the most part. Okay, corporate and strategic management, fire services registration policy, terms of reference registration. I guess Bruce here. He wasn't in the office yesterday. Though. Oh, there he is.
I was trying to get down my driveway in the ice.
Yeah, somebody told me it wasn't very good.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
I just wanted to bring forward the annual registration requirements under P33. As you know, the commissions and the fire departments have to update us annually on operations and their financial.
If I can interrupt you just for a second,
Yeah.
Bruce. It's
Yeah.
1-0 Canada over Germany at the moment.
Oh, good. Yeah, so annually under P33, we require both the audited financial statements and the operational updates to ensure that they're meeting their service or the registration service requirements. So that was done. There was some delays again this year. Council did agree to accept the fire taxes without reference to their AGMs. We did get their AGMs. A lot of them did get their AGMs in at the last moment. And we did have some delays in getting information based on meeting and training restrictions and test schedules. So, but everything's now been brought together and consolidated. So we're prepared to move forward on that. So registration data and finances have been submitted, and it shows and been reviewed. And the information submitted shows that the departments are adequately funded at the present time, equipped and trained to provide the service levels that they are currently registered. To save some time and be sure, I just can go through a couple of highlights on the fire tax rates. The fire tax rate for the village, District 3, maintained at 7.4. There was a slight increase in the fire tax for the boat for the MLC Islands. That was up 1 cent. There was no other changes to any fire tax rates in the other districts. And that currently ranges from 10.5 cents to 20 cents per $100 of assessment. I did want to highlight one thing on the financials, and that was congratulations to the District 2 Hubbard's Commission. Over the years, they've been working really hard on trying to get their financial audited statements up to date, and they've now achieved that, and they've submitted the last period, March 31st, 2021, completely. So they are current right now, which is a
good.
great step for them. On corporate status, the only change in the corporate status was that through a provincial order and council, the Western Shore Fire Commission has moved to the Rural Fire District Act. And that is brings them out from the 1962 local statute that they were under. That clears the way for them to resubmit their bylaws and finally resolve the boundary descriptions between the river and Western Shore. Again, that boundary is not a disputed boundary; it's just a legal issue that we had to cover based on the 62 statute, which was amended without being amended correctly. With respect to insurances, we've maintained our liability insurances and additional volunteer insurance. Due to the market conditions, we did have a 15% increase in 2021. We're expecting some more increases, but with the municipal policy, we've been able to stabilize those quite well. On WCB, we did see a large increase from 47 cents to 66 cents per $100 of payroll for the volunteer firefighters. That came sort of as a surprise, but it is up there. The impact on us will be rates of about 12,500, up from about 9,000 last year. All the fire departments did, though, maintain their current private policies, and we're continuing to investigate if we can save some funds there by going through a joint policy. I won't go through all the emergency calls and everything. You had a separate report on that to save some time. In the operations area, just wanted to point out that Jared Swinimer took on the chief's position at Western Shore as of January. There was no other change in the chief's positions at the 6 other departments. We had no major injuries to any of our firefighters, and no major WCB claims were filed. COVID exposures continue to hamper operations, but that we're supplying masks and test kits to keep the fire departments in stock of those items. Volunteer membership was retained, remained steady at about approximately 200 firefighters across the MOC. And we're continuing to work on the risk assessment. We had continued to fund the respiratory protection mask fit testing. And we're continuing to work on the fire dispatch through the fire services. So I'd like to bring the motion forward that the per policy P33, the registration summaries be brought to council for approval. And then upon approval that we issue the Schedule B notifications to each one of the fire commissions.
Motion to approve option 1 per policy P33, April 9th, 2020, the registrations summary be brought to council for approval. Upon approval, Schedule B confirmation of registration notification be sent to the individual commissions.
Do we have a seconder?
I'll second it, and I just want to make a comment. I don't know if anyone's listening, but I just want to thank Hubbard's Fire Commission. I know they've been, it's over 5 years probably, excuse me, trying to get this thing back in shape and Hubbard's and back in order, and they've worked tirelessly at it, and I just think they deserve a lot of credit for the Hubbard. So I know, Bruce, you've been patient, and council has been patient, waiting for this, but at no fault of the commissions themselves. It's something that they adopted when they took it over. And it was literally a mess. And they worked tirelessly to get it back to where we are today. So I just want to put a big thank you out there for all of them and for council being so patient with them. So thank you.
Thank you.
I
Any
have,
further?
I have expressed that to Tim directly, Floyd, so thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion?
Just want to thank Bruce for the report. These reports are new to me, and I just thought it was very well done. I just wanted to comment and thank Bruce for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion is carried. And you have
If I
9
can comment, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
So Bruce, just want to take this opportunity to thank you and Tara for this past weekend with the events happening around, of course, the area, my area, if you will, and loss of power and extreme cold temperatures and all of the above. So I appreciate the emails and the reaching out 24/7, I think, with some things, and just very much appreciated. And probably while it's fresh in my mind, I probably should be making notes for when we do our debrief of what, in a community that can work well in terms of communication, because it does, and what we can work on. And I don't mean Remo, I probably mean my own community in terms of that vulnerable population and who we don't know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But just really, I wanted to start and finish with a thank you. So.
Okay, thank you.
Best staff ever.
There you go. You want to put that in the minutes, people. Okay, just before we move on to 9.3, it's 2-0 for Canada now. So Fire Services Association, alternate director for Lunenburg County.
Yes, okay. Gordon Appleby, who was our previous director or alternate director for FSANS, advised us that he didn't want to renew his appointment. So we then proceeded to work with our MODC guideline 009, which is requesting nominations and election of a new alternate or director for FSANS. So in accordance with that, we went to the 7 chiefs and requested nominations for the position. And 6 out of the 7 fire departments submitted nominations by the deadline of January 21st. A total of 4 people were nominated, 2 of which declined the nomination. So the final accepted nominations were Deputy Chief Cody Stevens of the Chester Volunteer Fire Department and Captain Jamie Hatt of the Western Shore Fire Department. So with those nominations, we went out to the election process in late January, early February, and that was to correspond to the FSANS AGM, which would be currently scheduled for late March. So the election process terminated on February 4th with 6 of 7 departments returning their vote and by the deadline, and the vote resulted in a majority support for Cody Stevens of the Chester Fire Department. So based on that, I'm requesting that the council send a letter of support to the Fire Services Association of Nova Scotia, recommending that Deputy Chief Cody Stevens represent the municipality of Chester as alternate director for Lunenburg County for that association in 2022. And also that a letter of appreciation for past service go to Gordon Appleby for his work.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded, moved and seconded. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you, Bruce.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Bruce.
Okay, so just before we go on, there's one other item of new business with the South Shore Library, Tina. You're on mute.
And I'm trying to find my statement. Scotia Public Library is beginning the recruitment process for a new CEO and chief librarian, and has recently established a hiring committee to lead that effort. Jeff Mercer will continue as acting chief librarian until the recruitment process is complete.
When I first went on, I could hear, but
That's all about. What happened? Something happened.
The person from Community Wheels was on and didn't have herself muted.
No,
Oh.
I put her in the waiting room, so we'll just let her in when it's their turn.
Okay.
Okay. So Tina, that's the statement? Well,
Yes, thank you.
okay. Okay, so then we're on to our first appointment then. So whenever you're ready to let them in, I guess, or do.
Yeah, I
your
think Jen's
presentation.
probably just letting her know that she's coming into the meeting here. There we go.
Michelle, you're muted.
good morning. Sorry
Morning.
about having a few technical difficulties this morning.
Morning, Michelle.
Good morning,
Morning.
everybody. Wow, it's nice to see smiling faces. Isn't this great?
Yeah.
Thank you for having us this morning. Shall I just begin?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not sure if there was an introduction to me, but I am the transportation coordinator with the Municipality of Chester Transportation Society. And I've been with the organization just over 2 years, and I'm really pleased that I can live and work in Mi'kma'ki here, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kma'ki people. And we're really grateful to the municipality for the ongoing support that we receive through our annual recreation grant. And I'm just here to share a little bit about who we are and what we do and how we do it. I thought I might just give you a little view into what a day in the life of the transportation coordinator is like here with Community Wheels. And mostly I get the opportunity to interact with our constituents and fellow community members over the phone and by email. And they contact our office and speak to me about a request for ride. And this is my Bible that I work from. And the first document that comes is a request for ride form where I collect the information about who the person is, whether they qualify for our service. You must be a resident of the Municipality of Chester to qualify. So from there, I look at the request and my calendar and what our capacity is to serve that request on a daily basis. So that involves quite a bit of scheduling and looking at how long the ride might take, where it might take us in the municipality, and how that relates to our next dispatch that we're going to go. I look at what size vehicle or whether they require accessible transportation or not, and then I take it from there. My next step is a step that's been introduced with our COVID protocols, and that is a wellness check. So about 24 hours prior to a ride, I contact the rider who's made the request, and I go through a series of questions to ensure of their health and the health of the driver and the other passengers. So when they screen through the wellness check, then the next thing is the instructions to my driver. And we, at the moment, have 2 drivers on board. We should have a complement of 4 or more to be the most successful at meeting our requests. But recruitment has been an interesting process during this time. So when the driver receives their instructions, they get a form that's called the pre-trip inspection and the driver's report. And we are regulated by a number of bodies in the transportation industry, including the Nova Scotia Utility Review Board, Transportation and Infrastructure, and the Department of Motor Vehicles. So we have multiple streams that we have to ensure that the vehicle and the driver is ready to go for the day and at the end of the day. We also have our COVID protocols, which include the screening, the masking, and also the disinfection of the vehicles. So then the ride takes place after all that background work and information, and the rider goes to where they need to go. The driver comes back to our base, and we have a post-ride protocol that we go through with our disinfection, refueling of the vehicles, and the records that we need to keep for all our authorities that we deal with. And then the paperwork comes back to me for tracking and administration, bookkeeping, and so on. So that's just a little background on how you get a ride and what it actually looks like. A couple of weeks ago, I had the opportunity to book the Community Wheels myself and take a drive for a medical appointment into Halifax. And I was scheduled with another rider who was also going to Halifax for a medical appointment. And I had the opportunity to sit face to face with one of our riders, which is unusual for me, but it was a great pleasure. And I had the chance to talk to her about what the impact of her rides are in her family and her life, and how that allows her to stay in the municipality of Chester. She goes for life-saving treatments 3 times a week, and we take her into Halifax for those rides. And she shared with me that if she didn't have the Community Wheels to assist her with her transportation, she would have to move into HRM to access her treatment, as it's only available there. That effect for her and her family would be quite intense. She is able to rent her accommodations here in the municipality from the grandmother of her children. So she has affordable rent. She has support from her family for childcare because her treatments last half a day, and she requires after school care for her kids, and her family assists her with that. If she had to move into Halifax or HRM, obviously her children would be uprooted from the schools that they have and the support, and it would really affect the quality of the life of her and her family. And being able to share that story with you is really important to me, because that's what I get up in the morning for and come to the office. We have continuously provided service through the pandemic because of requests like this. The requests have changed, morphed. We've been asked to be resilient. We've been asked to change on a dime and comply with public health protocols. And we certainly are some of the frontline workers. That has affected the number of drivers we have. Some folks aren't willing to put themselves out as frontline workers, and for other various reasonable reasons, whether they're vulnerable or whatnot. So that has affected our recruitment. And recruiting labor has been cited as a significant obstacle to growth in a 2020 APEC report. And we certainly have been struggling with that at the moment. As I said, we're recruiting for drivers, and we're also needing some board members to join our organization with community experience. So certainly, if you wouldn't mind sharing that we're looking for drivers with Class 4 licenses and community board members, that would be a great help for us here. The Community Wheels budget is made up of funding and grants from a variety of partners and sponsorship, which you folks are amongst. And our funding formula represents contributions from the province of Nova Scotia, around 54%, ridership donations, 20%, sponsorships, 19%, and our recreation grant from the municipality at 7%. So we're really grateful to have these funding partnerships that are ongoing. I don't know if most of you folks know that the Community Wheels offers a pay what you can service within our municipal boundaries. And we are the only organization of 22 community transportation organizations who offers their community that offer. Everybody else is stuck to rates and fares, which have to be approved by an SURAB. So we're really grateful to be able to offer that service. Our donations from riders are down. And I think that's understandable with the economy the way it is. But of course, our expenses have gone up. Everybody is feeling the pinch when they go and fill their gas tank up at the local stations. And you can imagine what that's like to operate 4 vehicles in our community fleet. So we've taken a big hit with fuel prices increasing. The national inflation rate up 4.7%. Our insurance premiums have gone up over 10% this year following smaller annual increases. Our labor costs have increased because of the COVID protocols required with cleaning and the wellness protocols. We have an increase in dollars required to maintain our aging fleet. Supply chain issues affect our community fleet. Prices of tires and fluids. And we do have an aging fleet that requires a high degree of inspections. We're subject to 2 annual inspections for each vehicle where we're held to a very high standard through the Transportation and Infrastructure Department. And we actually have 2 of our vehicles going in next week. So our fingers are crossed that that's not going to hurt too much in the pocketbook. Our nature of our trips have changed a little bit over the COVID pandemic. We get still probably the same amount of requests to go in for medical appointments, but quite often they are canceled at last moment. Excuse me.
Yeah.
So that certainly puts a wrench into dispatching and scheduling and our capacity levels. So we've had an increase of requests to deliver food bank parcels on a weekly basis. We've had an increase in requests for transportation for youth going to educational purposes. So it's very interesting that we really have to be flexible and understanding what's happening around us and respond appropriately in the best way that we can. I was recently at an in-person meeting with our transportation providers, the first one in several years. We belong to a group called RTA, Rural Transportation Association, and we have 22 members. And one of the pieces that was presented was a linear piece, and it showed the development of transportation in the province of Nova Scotia in a chronological way. And Community Wheels was the third, spot on that chart. And that really spoke to me about how we've responded in an amazing way to the needs of our community, that we jumped at the chance of forging a society that promotes rural transportation, and that we've been supporting folks in the municipality for, this will be our 15th year. And I was really proud to see where we were as an early adopter, responding to the needs of our community. Through our membership with the RTA, we share best practices along with operational information, including our funding streams, because we are funded through the Department of Public Works in our CTAP program as community transportation organizations. And during the information sharing, we've learned that 2 municipalities with population numbers similar to Chester are able to commit funding levels to their CTO programs that exceed our current funding rate. So with our long-serving record with the community today, I'm respectfully requesting an increase in your annual funding contribution to our service from $8,000 to $10,000 annually. And your funding contribution would demonstrate an appreciation of our commitment and your commitment to supporting vulnerable people in our community by helping to sustain this vital service in our municipality. And I'd really like to thank you so much for your ongoing support. And I'd like to hand this over to David Outhouse, who's our treasurer and board of directors, who has a few comments to make. Thanks so much.
Very informative. David, here somewhere?
He's on mute, Michelle.
There we go.
There we are.
Sorry about that. Thank you for the opportunity to meet with you folks again. I certainly see some familiar faces on the screen and some faces I haven't met before. I've been with the Board of Community Wheels since we incorporated in 2009. And just to point out that Community Wheels is a registered not-for-profit society with the province and is also has charitable status under the Canadian Revenue Agency. I think Michelle has touched upon almost all the information that I wanted to share, but I'm just going to share a few numbers with you. And perhaps to give you a bit of a sense of the impact of the pandemic. In the year leading up to the pandemic, our operating budget was $121,000. And in the first year of the pandemic, our budget dropped to $83,000. And that was because of the reduced demand and the reduced number of vehicles on the road. So our biggest expenses are our labor costs and our vehicle costs. As Michelle mentioned, we have an aging fleet. We were fortunate last year to get some provincial funding to replace our small car. So we have a brand new 4-door car in our fleet, but the rest of our vehicles are 2017 and older. Our bus is a 2010. And anybody who maintains vehicles today understands I suspect the cost of parts and even being able to get parts sometimes and the weight involved. Last year, in this past year, we spent $45,000 in salaries for dispatch and drivers, and we spent $16,000 in vehicle fuel and repairs. The year prior to that, our fuel and repair bill was $34,000, and that was indicative of how much more the vehicles were on the road prior to the pandemic. So the pandemic has had an impact, although we're beginning to see those numbers come back. And so we anticipate as we move forward to loosening of restrictions and people being more comfortable that we're going to see a much higher demand And so that's really why the board is focused on trying to ensure that we have adequate staffing to have people driving those vehicles, but also to have board members around the table to support the work. I think just to put a little historical perspective, back when Community Wheels began, that the municipality of Chester came on as a supporter of this initiative, as one of the financial partners, and for a number of years contributed at a rate of $6,000 a year. And then around 2015, that rate was increased to $8,000 a year. And so Michelle's request today to have you consider increasing that request or that contribution to $10,000 a year would go a long ways towards meeting our financial obligations. Last year, we had a surplus of $16,000. We've never had a surplus before. We worked very hard to almost have balanced budgets every year. Sometimes there was, a few $100s one way or the other, and the board felt very comfortable with that. Last year, the province came on board with some one-time COVID funds and grants, which helped us achieve that surplus. Otherwise, we wouldn't have. And it was really meant to help sustain the service so that we didn't lose it all. And that we had something to rebuild with, and that has been effective. So we were able to use that money quite efficiently, and it left us with a surplus of 16,000. This year we won't see a surplus because our revenues and expenses are much more closely aligned. So we are again, to reiterate, extremely appreciative of the support of the municipality since 2009, and on behalf of the board, we would encourage you to consider our request. Certainly, we've had representation from the municipality on our board. Chad Hahn was a board member for a long time, and that role has now moved to Jody Conrad. So certainly through Jody, I can provide you with the financial statements if that would be helpful. And I'll end my remarks.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that everybody on council appreciates the service, and it was great to have a better understanding of it this morning. It's much more complex to get to drive than I ever thought, but from the administration point of view. And I think we're very fortunate. I think everybody would agree with me to have community wheels in our municipality. It's the only form of public transportation that we have, and we're running a little bit short on time, or we're over for our next appointment. But
I'd like to comment.
Yeah, I'm sure you would. Yeah.
Thank you. Sure. Yeah. You're right. Good to see you again, Michelle and David. Nothing's changed. Every time you're here, or Michelle, your first time possibly for Community Wheels, but David, every time Community Wheels is here, every time I get to reference Community Wheels outside, I say the same thing. Community Wheels is a wonderful service. Community Wheels is doing great things. Community Wheels makes a real difference in people's lives. And maybe I'll steal from Abdallah a little bit, or Councillor Ace, of Community Wheels. He's not said this, not yet anyway. Community Wheels is the best thing ever. Best thing ever. Best thing ever. We received your annual report as councillors from Jody, of course, a while back, and that provides some of those stats, testimonials from, again, real users, real people in our municipality. I remember the ribbon cutting when Community Wheels was first launched, if you will. Trudy Payne, I think, possibly the staff person here, headed that up. And I remember the 5th year anniversary celebration of Community Wheels as well, I believe in the independent parking lot. I was there as well. So it's, I just wanted to say that because you deserve the time on our agenda, no different than anyone else. And I do want to say that. So I appreciate you. Thanks.
So thank you, Tina. I don't know if anybody else wants to comment. I mean, I assume this is a budgetary item. I can't imagine that we wouldn't support that level of increase, but.
We will get the financials, right? We'll get the financials. I think we should ask for those.
Oh yeah, we will.
Yeah.
I will make sure that Jody has a copy of those so that he can move them through to you.
Okay, thank you very much for coming in and sharing that with us, and you'll hear back. But I think that I think you'll end up with the support you require. Thank you. Okay, Jennifer, is Mike Ernst around? Or,
Yep, they're just joining us now.
okay.
Good morning.
Morning. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
Are we on the agenda right now, Warden Weber?
Yes. Yeah, you are. Yeah. Yeah. The floor is
Okay.
yours.
Now, I do want to have, just make sure the share screen is working here properly.
Okay.
And hopefully that is, has that come up, that presentation on your screen?
Just starting to. Yeah, it's up now.
Okay, great. So I'm going to speak to that, and then Al Monroe, I believe. Al, have you joined us?
I don't see them.
No, I don't see them.
Okay, I just phoned him a few minutes ago. He was ready to go. I can give you his telephone number. Maybe if the member of staff could just give him a ring to make sure he is there.
He's
Oh,
on
there he
his
is.
now.
There he is.
He's
Yep.
on now.
He's on now?
Yeah.
Oh, you gotta love technology.
I know.
Sometimes. Can you hear me okay?
All right, well, oh yeah, we're fine. As long as I can hear you, and I've got the slide presentation here. So I'll do the introduction if I may, and then I'm going to pass over to Al. Al is actually in charge of business development for Titan Maritime. And so he's been very heavily involved with the Ghost Gear Fund. I've come in laterally as just to help them out in doing an outreach program to municipal and provincial levels of government, and also the members of the public, to inform both levels of government about the fund. I have served as a councillor previously with the Municipality District of Lunenburg. My name is Michael Ernst, for those who don't know me, and I live in Oakland, just outside the Mahone Bay. I've always had an interest in garbage in the oceans. I served on Region 6 Waste Management Committee as chair for 4 years. And also I've been a longtime sailor of over 45 years, working internationally in Europe and here. The issue of ghost gear is one I think that we have never looked at that much because it's invisible. However, it is there, and I'm going to let Al take over, if I may. He's going to explain the work that Titan Maritime has done. I'll control the slide deck here. You're welcome to ask questions throughout, or you can save them for the end. So Al, I'm going to pass over to you. You ready to go?
Morning. Thanks very much for hearing us this morning. My name is Al Monroe. As Michael said, I'm an ex-naval officer. I live just down the road from Chester. I'm a member of the Chester Golf Course, thank goodness, and anxiously awaiting April to roll around for sure. But I've been involved with Titan Maritime for a couple of years now. Basically, if you drive down the 103 or number 3 at exit 10, we're an offshoot of Mahone Marine. You'll see about 1,000 boats parked there right now under white plastic. But Zach Green is our president and CEO, and essentially we found a niche in Halifax and elsewhere. It's the explosion of ocean technology in Halifax being the one of the leaders right now, and it's actually spinning off into other organizations within Lunenburg County. We saw a need to or a requirement and fit the solution to provide vessels for the ocean technology sector. So we are involved in a lot of groups in providing that business end, and we are also been involved for a year and a half now with ocean cleanup, initially on our own, not too far from Chester. We've been doing work with Oak Island, Crystal Oak Island Show, etc. And in our daily work along the coast, we were recovering a lot of gear that we found on our own, and so we heard about the federal government offering funding for ocean cleanup via the Ghost Gear project. It's basically otherwise discarded fishing gear, and it comes in all forms. So as you can see in this slide, the one on the top left there, that's a fish farm that we found up just off Oak Island. Almost ran a prop over top of it, but this is sort of stuff that's in there. But and the one on the top right is a fish farm that we picked up just around the corner from you folks in Aspetucket. Basically an abandoned salmon farm. It was basically dropped on the bottom. It just went away and left it. So the dilemma with ghost gear is the fact that it's one in the simplest form is a lobster trap. Lobster goes in, he gets in there. The trap's abandoned on the bottom. He has no rope on it, so it's sitting there. And the fish dies, and then in come other fish, bottom feeders like codfish or flounder, etc. They go in there, they die. So it basically, you call it ghost gear because it just keeps on fishing forever. So anyway, the DFO 2 years ago asked for expression of interest from local companies to go and start the ocean cleanup. So the project was funded to the tune of $8.6 million over 2 years and 3 oceans. So although it sounds like a lot of money, it's not, given the fact that it's a 3 ocean strategy, including the Arctic, both coasts, Great Lakes, in fact. So there are, in fact, 4 or 5 companies in Nova Scotia doing retrieval as we speak, including ourselves and a little organization in Mullen Bay called Coastal Action, you may have heard of. Anyway, the project expires on March 31st, unfortunately, and we're guardedly optimistic that the program is going to be refunded come new fiscal year, which is 1 April in the federal government. It's certainly well needed. We've been working, as I said, from basically Aspetucket right down to Tuscan Islands, down Wedgeport, Lockport. The amount of gear in the bottom is absolutely frightening. You can almost walk on it. And in fact, around the Chester municipality, out around the islands, there is a lot of it there as well. So anywhere where it's heavily fished, there's going to be a lot of junk in the bottom. So obviously the impact on the environment, on fishing, on tourism. In fact, we've been briefing the other municipalities. It's number 5 in a series or 6, and the support's been extremely good. Everybody knows, what the threat is out there. Stuff's washing up on beaches, but as Michael said earlier, a lot of it is unseen. You can practically walk on some of it, and we're finding that a lot of the gear has just been discarded not far from wharfs. So probably out around, we know Tancook Big Tancook on either end of the strait between the 2 islands. There is a ton of it on either end. So that's one of our targets. If we get refunded come April and beyond, we'll certainly be looking into Tancook areas as well. So anyway, the problem's there. It's not going away. It is absolutely mind-boggling how much stuff that's been thrown in the ocean. We've been very fortunate. There's 4 pillars in the process. One is to locate, recover, recycle, and then educate folks on the problem. So that's essentially what we're talking about right now, the 4th piece. But recycling is an issue. Right now, we do have 2 ports that we can send the traps to, the metal traps, to be recycled at no cost. However, most municipalities, there's a tipping fee, and the last thing we want is for this to go into the landfill. Recycling has not been well done in the project, admittedly. The federal government realizes it now, the DFO, and they are going to throw some money at it to make it better. So I think in the next round, if it does come out, you'll see that there will be a renewed effort to get the recycling piece in place. We do have a partner out in Scotia that was taking our ropes and our traps, but they're on a little bit shaky ground right now. But I think you'll see some funding coming forward. And we are, in fact, speaking and have been speaking for a year and a half with Sustain, who's in your fine town and your village in Chester, who their role is to take clean rope and plastics and recycle them into fuel. I'm pretty sure you're aware of who they are. But yeah, it's very exciting stuff. And in fact, the things like the shrink wrap that you see in the boats at Mahone Marine, we just put in an agreement with them to take that gear and recycle it as well. So it's a great time. You know, we're in at the right time. We're not here to promote the company. We're just letting you know of what we've been doing in your backyard. And we're hoping going forward that the funding will be there. And we are essentially lobbying at all three levels of government right now. And this is why we're speaking to you today. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mike.
Thank you. Can we get maybe back to full screen? See if I can see if there's.
Sorry, I just, if I may finish up.
Oh, sure, great ahead.
Yeah. I was on unmute. I was muted there. I didn't want to have any background noise coming in. So we have basically what we're looking at council to consider is, well, it's on the screen there. If you would consider writing a letter to the federal government, in particular, the Honorable Joyce Murray, Minister of Fisheries, and long-term encourage your residents to pick up any shoreline litter they come across, and when possible, recycle it, and encourage the responsible of ghost gear throughout all levels of government. And this may be coming down to affect municipalities, because as you appreciate, you do handle waste issues. And EPR, for example, is coming into the province. And in Europe, they're looking at the EPR for fishing gear, and that may be coming into Canada. So there could be an impact here on your municipal waste streams. So I think that's about it. I can, do you want me to take off the slide presentation and go on to full screen?
Yeah, it's just, it makes it easier for me to have a discussion with council, see whether they have.
Okay, so we'll stop screen share here. There we are.
Okay. So yeah, no, you're doing great work, and I can't imagine why we would have any issues with writing a letter of support. And I don't know whether or not you have a communication strategy or information you want shared with the public, but we may be able to assist you in that way through our newsletter as well, if you would like us to.
Okay, thank you. That would be wonderful. We are developing a communication strategy. This is a initiative I proposed to Titan Maritime, and they immediately grasped upon the idea of trying to do outreach and communication about this issue. And as you know, municipal government is the most approachable level of government. That's a mantra we've heard for years and years and years. And this is quite the case, because we've been able to get presentations with every municipal unit on the South Shore.
Yeah, it's easier to talk to us than it is to some of the others. We live next door to you.
It's a double-edged sword sometimes, but it does nice to hear from you.
You know well what it's all about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if council has any questions or comments they would like to make, or
I just like, can I ask one quick question? The
Sure.
first slide on the upper left, did you say that was off Oak Island? I didn't quite hear what you said that was. The first slide, upper left.
Yes.
Yeah, Derek, that was just southwest of Oak Island. We were doing some work with the production show, the TV show, and we came upon it. And rather than just leave it there, excuse me, to report it to Coast Guard, we decided to do a retrieval. It's an illegal fish farm.
An illegal fish farm. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, we're not sure who put it in, but we were interviewed on CBC. We had some pretty good exposure from it. That's what got us interested in the cleanup piece. But you know, we basically cleaned it up on our own expense, and we were asked, you know, why would you do something like that? And basically, you know, as a master mariner and a former CO, it's like when you get a Mayday call at sea, you know, you're bound to go and lend a hand. So
was it abandoned illegal fish farm?
Yeah, we've been given very strict instruction from DFO when we're doing cleanup in the present project is to, if you do see illegal fish, you can report it, don't touch it. But in this case, it was obvious it had been abandoned for quite some time.
Good.
Hold about 100 sandbags up.
Yeah. Wow. Who knew?
Who knew? Yeah.
Well, they're very clever. You'll see a bunch of geese and duck decoys. That's their boys that they use to mark them. So It'd be pretty interesting.
What was that? Sorry.
They use duck and geese decoys to mark their nets underwater.
So you need a
Anyone
motion?
Yes, I do require one, yes.
Scoria, if I may, I have a question of council. I know at Kaiser Meadow, you used to have a company that was cleaning material from fish farms. Is that still in operation?
I hate to say it's not. They still own the facility. They're still there on occasion, but I'm not sure that. They used to repair nets and all of that sort of stuff. Yeah, I'll have Krista contact you, the landfill manager.
Lovely, thank you. In your council package, there was a link to the Ocean Legacy Foundation, and that is the only recycling facility for ghost gear in Canada right now, and it's located in BC. If you go and have a look at their site, they have a poster that you can download, and it shows the materials that can be recycled and that which cannot. One of the big problems with this material, of course, it is contaminated, not only with possibly oils, but also with grit, mud, and other matter, and it can't be easily recycled. So maybe a pre-washing facility could be foreseen as a possibility before it is put through any sort of process. And I believe this is probably one of the issues with Sustain, is that they have to have pure, clean stock in order to carry out their activities.
Depending on the type of material, probably, yeah.
Yeah.
A Rainbow Net and Rigging is who you were referring to earlier, and they still own the facility. They're there on occasion. I'm not sure how much they're doing, but I'll have Krista find out.
Okay, Rainbow Net and Rigging. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Hey, any other, or Derek, you were going to make a motion?
Yeah, I would. Am I on mute? I don't think.
Yeah, you are.
I move that we write the letter of support.
Okay. Do we have a seconder? I can't see everybody, so. Can I get back to full screen somehow or gallery view? Because I could have 6 people seconding it and I don't.
All seconded.
Moved and seconded, but I can't see when you vote, but I'll make some wild assumptions. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm going to assume the motion's carried, and Okay, well, thank you very much for your presentation and the work that you're doing, and I'll have Chris to get a hold of you about Rainbow Net and Rigging.
All right, thank you very much, Warden Weber, and thank you, members of council. There is a generic letter, if that might be of any use.
It wouldn't hurt, yeah.
Yeah, I can send that through to Ms. Myra right now. And I apologize for not taking advantage of your 9:15 option for presentation. I was away doing something else for the minute, and then with the 2 emails. So I'm glad you were able to fit us in the council schedule.
Yeah, no.
Thank you once again.
Yeah, take care.
Take care. All best wishes. Bye-bye now.
Bye. Okay, Jen, Tara, can I get full gallery view, cancel back or something somehow?
You have to do that on your own thing.
You have to do that. Yeah, you have to do that.
Oh, I do. Well, I didn't know that I was supposed to be doing that. I just assumed that whatever that they had it controlled or something. Anyway, I don't know if there's any further discussion. I mean, I assume that on the first presentation that needs to go to the budget process for the request for the extra $2,000 annually. And we already have.
Sorry, Warden Weber. The item is a line. It's a community wheels is a line item in our budget normally. So we would typically get you to refer that to the budget process, but you have the option to just approve that now, and it would be basically a pre-budget approval of that. But yep.
What do you want to do? I mean, it's $2,000. We're lucky to have them for $10,000 here.
Pre-budget approval.
Moved, seconded that we approve the increase to $10,000. pre-budget approval.
Yep.
Discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, motion's carried. And that's it for the agenda. So, yeah, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded, Abdella. Discussion, all those in favor?